Well, like Blanche Dubois, Fairfax is fanning herself in her front parlour, getting ready to receive some gentleman callers. Having already rid herself of some unsightly staff, she looks $30 million in cost savings. But will she be attractive enough to her private equity suitors? Omni-editor of the Sydney Morning Herald, The Age, the Oz Financial Review, Brisbane Times, Canberra Times, Newcastle Herald, Sun Herald, Border Mail and Bendigo advertiser Cardamom Pie.
Dim the lights and the old girl will look almost alive, Shaun. All this buzz is just a shot in the chest with adrenaline we need to get those rivers of gold flowing again, Cardamom, you dinosaur. What happened on House Rules last night? On our smackdown if someone goes viral. Worried you're eating too much selenium? Try our new sponsored link. Click, click, clickety, click, click.
Chris Lorax, Chief Stoker for News.com.au. You solved the problem of news gathering by simply not doing a lot of it.
It's called citizen journalism, Shaun.
Yeah, is it really journalism, though, if you just take some random story and pass it off as news? Look at this graphic we got off Media Watch.
Apex thugs knocked out in viral video.
You get your stuff from Paul Barry, Shaun. We get ours from someone who isn't Paul Barry. Same thing.
Yeah, well, I'm not a real TV journalist, am I? He is. Paul says you got your, as it turned out, completely inaccurate story from
the Party for Freedom website.
Oh, look at this funny picture we did for Andrew Bolt's column, eh?
Yeah, never mind that.
This is the future. This is the future of Fairfax, Shaun.
Isn't that just the real estate supplement?
It's what TPG, H&F and whoever else we're lap dancing for want. The domain becomes the masthead and the newspaper itself becomes a 4-page supplement inside on Saturdays, written by Twitter bots.
People haven't got time to even glance at headlines anymore, Shaun. Media consumption is made up of thousands of micro-impressions of keywords from links you're scrolling past on your way to a freeze frame from Sam Newman saying something about Kendall Jenner. Stories can get muddied by accuracy.
Yeah, but why not just be a news aggregator and post a link directly to the Party for Freedom website?
Integrity, Shaun. Print may be as dead as Rupert looks, but there are some things we don't do. Way down the bottom of our article about Apex thugs, we clearly said that the video attracted a large number of racist comments too offensive to be published here.
Well, that must have been frustrating for you.
Yeah.
Enough of the brickbats, though. Time now for some bouquets flung just as violently by our media Sasquatch. Now, I'm not a big fan of hyperbole in television journalism. It's the worst thing a professional newsman can do, in my opinion, and should be punishable by death by 1,000 atomic bombs. But things are so bad lately that you can forgive David Lipsome for describing Tony Abbott as being
like a Dalek yelling exterminate.
Now, that's a fair analogy. Both the Daleks and Tony Abbott feel no pity or remorse. Each want to enslave mankind and conquer the universe. And, of course, both are sworn enemies of the Doctor. So well done, David. Now, putting together a commercial network news bulletin every night must be a nightmare. I know watching it is. If you're not scouring YouTube for vision of a car accident somewhere on the planet, you're having to find yet another zoo where a gorilla has had a birthday, or making line ball judgment calls like, do you run a story on the fight against ISIS in Mosul, or a more reflective interview piece with Jerry Harvey like this.
We used to sell these for $2,500 25 years ago. It's $994.
Now, I know how it looks, but I think you're being unfair and taking him out of context. Let's give the story its proper context.
There's never been a better time to buy.
At the moment, the deals are just so good.
At Harvey Norman, there's 20% off TVs and stellar savings on white goods.
Although, to be perfectly fair, it was more than just a study of Jerry Harvey.
At Myer, there's big savings on beauty. Calvin Klein's Reveal fragrance and Revlon Wonder Cream halved. At David Jones, shoppers will save $36 on luxury Sheridan bath sheets, and Sunbeam slow cookers down from $59.95 to just $39.
Now, Eunice Lutt, the Dean of Journalism at the University of Cooper Pedy. Eunice, your reaction to that news item?
Well, Shaun, as a former news journalist myself, I must say I was very surprised that they ran with that, Sheridan bath towels discounted, and overlooked several much bigger stories, such as the OXO Pop rectangular acrylic container 1.4 litre was $30, now just $22.76. The Zoku slushy maker, down from $41 to $30.96. And the Antipodes Hosanna H20 intensive skin clumping serum, not $49.95, now just $37.80.
Staggeringly poor judgment, isn't it?
Well, we may never see crazily discounted prices like this again in our lifetime, Shaun. And when we talk about which story do I run with, I think everyone fighting in Mosul would stop and their jaws would drop if they saw such heavily discounted savings.
Well, thanks, Eunice. And by the way, just on Harvey Norman, we know who the Harvey is, Jerry Harvey, but do we know who the Norman is?
Yeah, actually we do, Shaun.
Yep.
And as you can see, great discounts all year round on shower accessories, I believe.
Well, thank you, Eunice, and well done, Channel 9. And finally, see what you think of this from the usually reliable Age newspaper. Great white shark jumps into fisherman's boat off Evans Head. Now, I ask you, what on earth was a shark doing on the... Excuse me just a moment. Hello? Oh, I see. No, I feel such a fool. OK. Bye-bye. Now, we were talking earlier about the infighting going on in the Liberal Party, and I think it would be very, very unfair to leave you with the impression that it was just Tony causing all the trouble. According to Senator Darren Hinch, there are senior people in the Abbott camp leaking directly to Bill Shorten, and that they want to bring down Malcolm Turnbull even if it means losing the next election. So I guess when the Newspoll survey shows that 31% of Australians choose Bill Shorten as preferred Prime Minister, most of that 31% is made up of members of the government. And the fact is, Mr Turnbull's colleagues are undermining his authority in a manner that Bill Shorten could only dream of. They've made Bill completely redundant, because if he pipes up, tears strips off Malcolm Turnbull, half the government tell him to shut up and let them have a go. The only way Bill's going to get a crack at the PM is if he crosses the floor. John Howard once described the Liberal Party as a broad church, but today it seems to be fragmenting into a number of much smaller churches. Scientology, Amish, Buddhism, Wicca, and of course those who believe in the mighty Thor. And it's not even just the Libs causing trouble for the Libs. Former Queensland LNP Premier Campbell Norman is also slagging off at the PM. Mr Norman called on Mr Turnbull to resign and said that regional Australians, including North Queenslanders, didn't get Mr Turnbull. Although if they're not getting him up there, it's because reception's so bad. And Mr Broadbent's really only got himself to blame for that. The thing is, this is not automatically good news for Labor. Mr Norman went on to say that Pauline Hanson would be the beneficiary of all this ill will to Mr Turnbull, particularly in northern Queensland, because up north, she's a rock star. Now, it sounds unlikely, but, you know, Chad Morgan still packs him in up there, apparently, so why not? And, of course, it's not just the Libs who are having troubles this week. Spare a thought for the Greens, who are coping with the occasional spray from their own rogue member. Senator Lee Rhiannon's been accused of undermining the federal Greens-Gonski negotiations with the government, negotiations without which the government was able to do exactly what it did anyway. And so the Greens have decided that Rhiannon, like the famous Fleetwood Mac song that bears her name, should not be listened to anymore because everyone's sick and tired of hearing it. Incidentally, Rhiannon is part of the Greens' watermelon faction, so-called...
because they're green on the outside and red on the inside.
Okay. Now, these sorts of factions exist in other parties too. Labor centrists are often called capsicums, red on the outside and nothing much on the inside. Barnaby Joyce, too, has been described as red on the outside, but that's more to do with him not wearing a hat. Sport's coming up a little while later in the show, but first, sport.